And now in season 1 of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, we do get a scene where Daryl is talking to Carol, and Carol does say that somebody came back. And ever since that episode, a lot of fans, including myself, have been theorizing, what is Carol talking about? Like, who came back? Could it be Rick? Could it be Dwight? Who could it be? And in season 2 of Daryl Dixon, Daryl does ask Carol who came back, right? Who were you talking about? And she just says, it's a feeling. And now that was a huge disappointment for me and a lot of other fans. But in today's video, I'm going to be theorizing about what if Carol lied in that scene, and if she did say that somebody came back, but for Daryl's benefit, somehow she just lied for the moment. So please stay tuned. And now, before we actually get into the video, I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really, really appreciate it. And I'd like to ask you all to like this video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. And now, this is not a very far-fetched theory, right? I mean, Carol is one of the veterans of The Walking Dead, and multiple times throughout the show, and also in Daryl Dixon season 2, she did lie quite a bit. For example, she lied to Ash about Sophia being alive, and she has to go to France to go look for Sophia, but she was looking for Daryl. So it is very possible that Carol could lie to Daryl. And now, why would Carol lie to Daryl? And of course, there are some factors that come into this, right? Maybe she sees that Daryl is in a position where he can't leave, right? And also putting that whole information on him that, yeah, I know Rick is alive, right? And, that is not something that you say out of the blue, right? I mean, of course, Rick Grimes is back at the Commonwealth, and of course, Daryl would be very, very happy. But in that moment, Daryl lost Isabel, and of course, maybe Carol thinks that, he just lost somebody that he loves, and, this person meant a lot to her, so maybe it's not the right moment to tell him about Rick, right? And of course, even Daryl was looking for Laurent, and we all know that his plan is to take Laurent back to America with him. So maybe she doesn't want to put Daryl in that position where if he hears about Rick, he might want to leave right now while all this is going on, right? So yeah, that could definitely be a reason why Carol would lie. But also another reason why Carol would lie is that maybe it's not Rick that came back. Maybe somebody else came back. And now the character I'm talking about is Dwight. And now at the end of season 8 of The Walking Dead, Daryl did say to Dwight that if you come back or if you show your face here again, I will kill you. And maybe Carol did say Dwight's name. Maybe that was the same day that Dwight appeared at the Commonwealth. And then maybe Carol heard his story, right? Everything that he did in Fear and the loss of his son and just breaking up with Sherry and all of that. Maybe Carol felt some sympathy for him, and of course in that moment she said that Dwight came back, and now to protect Dwight in a way, she just said it was a feeling, right? And as we all know, in Fear the Walking Dead, Dwight did say that he wanted to go back to kill Negan, so it is very possible that Dwight did come back to kill Negan, but Negan was not there, and the Commonwealth accepted him into the community. And of course he did help with the Savior War, right? He was the mole, right? He was the inside man for the group during the Savior War. So I believe that Dwight does deserve some respect, and also he does deserve a place in the community. And also maybe Carol does think that Daryl accepted France as his home, right? Maybe she sees that Daryl does not want to leave France, no matter how much he's saying it, no matter how much he misses the rest of the community and the group and stuff like that. Even she did say that, us everyone back home is missing you, stuff like that. He kind of shrugged it off, and he accepts France as his home, right? He accepts Laurent and all these other characters as part of his family. I'm not saying that he accepted them as his family and he just threw the group away. But, the situation in France is pretty dire, right? I mean, like, almost everybody's after Laurent, and his number one priority is to bring Laurent to safety. So, again, you could look at it either way, right? You could see it as maybe Carol thinks that Daryl wants to stay in France, or, like how I said before, she thinks that Daryl is not going to leave Laurent, and she sees how dire the situation is for this child, and she can't put Daryl in a position where he would want to leave right now, right? And of course, telling him about Rick returning would complicate the situation even further. So I think she's holding it off, right? No, to be honest, I think Carol is holding off this information until Laurent is safe and, they're on their way to America. That's when she drops the news to Daryl that, yeah, the person I was talking about was Rick, right? I said Rick came back, and I was lying to you beforehand when I said a feeling came back. And yeah, like when you were still in America, right? Right before you got kidnapped and shipped off to France, that's when Rick came back. And of course, I think that would make much more sense, right? She would definitely wait for the situation to, cool down, and she would wait for the right moment to tell Daryl about Rick's return. And now when we talk about the timeline of this whole thing, right? As we all know, the Walking Dead universe's timeline is a bit messy. So if we consider the whole Rick came back theory, right? If that is true, and then that means that the finale of The Ones Who Live happened a few months after the 1-year time jump of The Walking Dead season 11. And this is of course after Daryl's whole search, right? Because if Rick did come back during that scene in Daryl Dixon, then that means that Rick specifically came back at the end of Daryl's journey before he got booted to France, which I think is very interesting, right? I mean, the timing is perfect. After Daryl has been looking for Rick and Michonne for so long, and when they finally do come back, he gets shipped off to France. But yet again, it is totally possible that Carol is speaking the truth, and this whole thing is just a big disappointment for fans, right? Because the Walking Dead universe does not shy away from that sort of thing, right? For making expectations so high and then crashing them down to the ground. But I thought it was very interesting because in the premiere for season 2 of Daryl Dixon, they do specifically highlight that scene when Carol did say that somebody came back, and in that scene it is more clear, right? Compared to season 1, you could kind of hear Carol a little bit more, and it does indeed sound like she said Rick. So if they don't go with the whole Rick Grimes thing, I think that it is very surprising if they don't go for that, right? And of course, we already saw Rick Grimes in The Ones Who Live, and Andrew Lincoln is up to return as Rick Grimes. So I think that it'd be a huge missed opportunity if they don't use this as a way to tease Rick and Daryl's reunion. And of course, I want to see Daryl's reaction to knowing that Rick Grimes finally came back home. And also, if you consider what Norman Reedus did say a couple of months back, when he did say that the finale of season 2 of Daryl Dixon is probably one of the best things in the Walking Dead universe, that only points towards a Rick Grimes cameo or just a Rick Grimes tease. And I did not see any leaks, right? I know a lot of people have seen a lot of leaks. So just in advance, I want to tell you all to not spoil in the comment section, right? Don't post any spoilers, right? Because the finale is going to happen in a few days anyways. So we'll all know, right? The suspense is almost done. And we will see what is the answer to the whole Rick Grimes question. But I thought it was very interesting when Norman Reedus did say that something crazy is going to happen in the finale, and it's one of the best things. And in the premiere of season 2, you could kind of hear Carol a little bit more clearly when she does say that somebody came back, and it sounds a lot like Rick. And of course, this whole fake out in season 2 as well, when they built up to that whole suspense of Daryl asking Carol who came back. When he finally does ask the question, then Carol brushes it off like it was nothing. I think that something is going on here, and I think that it is most likely a tease to Rick Grimes' return, or hopefully a Rick Grimes cameo in the season finale. And now, me personally, I'm leaning more towards the theory of Carol lying to Daryl, and that's solely because that seems like such a fake out, right? It seems like such an obvious fake out, and with how they treated that scene in season 1, how they treated it as such an integral part of the story, and them showing it off in the premiere and making it more clear audio-wise, I think that this was a fake out and Carol was lying to Daryl, and she's finally going to reveal it in the finale of season 2, or maybe they might drag it a little bit longer and they might reveal it in season 3 of Daryl Dixon. And you know, by the way that things are shaping out, it seems like Ash and Laurent might make their way to America, and Daryl and Carol might get left behind in France, and they will find their way to Spain, and of course that way they're going to cross the ocean to America. So we'll have a lot more Daryl and Carol moments, and maybe in season 3 we will finally get the explanation for this scene. But yeah, that's it for today's video. I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And please comment down, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that Carol is lying to Daryl, or do you think that she's speaking the truth? But yeah, I would like to ask you all to like this video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.